I'm Rim Katruda, interviewing Sara Flounders in Washington, D.C. We're in a tent just before they dismantle it in front of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. What do you feel? You told me today that yes, we are going because we feel we've accomplished what we came here to do. Can you sum it up?
The purpose of the encampment was to focus national attention on Congress, that they have the political, moral, and constitutional responsibility and authority to end the war. That by voting the funds, refusing to vote the funds to continue the war, it would force the issue. The troops would come home. And this is what Congress has always had, the power of the purse. If they don't approve a budget, government shuts down. And this actually happened, if you recall, during the Clinton administration. The budget wasn't passed. Actually, the country came to a standstill, and all sorts of federal departments and so on. And on the question of war, it's even more important. Congress has an obligation to do this, and yet, while there's a Democratic majority in both the House and in the Senate, and they ran on an anti-war campaign, it was clear from the very first day that voting the funds for the war, they were determined to do. Continue the war while talking against it. It's just an electoral maneuver for 2008. Make it Bush's war, they continue to speak against the war. And by focusing national attention on what Congress could do, should do, must do, it really robs them of this ability to politically manipulate the issue. It's a criminal conspiracy that is going on between Republicans and Democrats, corporate power really, to continue the war. When I say I feel that we help to focus national attention, before we made this an entire international, national campaign, not only on the internet, not only in mailings, not only in leafletings, by actually coming here and setting up an encampment with the huge banners that said, Congress cut off war funds. We have impacted it with many, many organizations that now understand what could happen and what should happen. That was our purpose in coming here. And while it has been an enormously difficult week physically, a lot of hardships in terms of the weather, the response was tremendous. There were so many groups, and groups that said we're representing from Colorado, from San Diego, from Maine, and so on, Chicago. I believe this tent is going to elevate. The Pentagon maybe didn't, but this tent in the wind is
levitate.
I see it's some of its stanchions are levitating right now. At any rate, even though it was a difficult time, it was successful. The struggle going on right outside the Appropriations Committee when they were meeting on this issue. They thought they could shut down the debate by packing the entire meeting room, a couple of hundred seats, with staffers and not leaving one seat free for the public. Nevertheless, there was a struggle that went on right in the hallway in front of the meeting. There was a struggle going on in front of the Rayburn building. Several of us were arrested at that time. That also was a political act, a calculation, a way of bringing the issue to the fore. Youth that the next day marched through the Rayburn building, again confronting Congress, demanding that they act against the war, I think has shown that this is a two-party system of war, that Republican and Democrat, when it comes to imperialist war, they stand together. And certainly Hillary Clinton, but all the political leadership of the Democratic Party has made that clear. War in Iraq, they're for it. War on Iran, they salute. Continued war on Afghanistan, a military budget which is $100 million a minute at a time when there is hunger, at a time when millions of people don't have medical care, when entire cities need to be rebuilt, beginning with New Orleans. I think anything that we can do to help focus that issue is a contribution. to the political movement.
A big chant of the movement is no justice, no peace. Errol Maitland, a colleague and a friend of mine, says this will not touch them. We have to go for no justice, no profit. What is the strategy now that the message to the Democrats mostly and people that are supposed to be voting on the budget with a heart and a look to the interest of the United States people, what is the strategy now?
Well, there is no justice because this is a system that exists strictly and totally for profit. That is absolutely linked. And when you attack and focus attention on the profit system and demand justice, I think you help to make the links for a lot of people who don't understand the whole picture of what they're fighting, what they hate, what their source of frustration is. So let's make those very links in the movement. Let's not be afraid to and say, well, we could be bigger if we were broader and if we demanded nothing. If we just say, oh, we're all for peace, well, who would be against that? But whenever you make the links, it doesn't actually shrink the movement. It embraces more issues. It brings them together. Whenever I've heard somebody say, well, we have to exclude any movement that seems like it's fringe, that seems like it doesn't represent the mainstream.
Like an anti-Zionist movement.
Exactly, exactly. Let's really speak truth on it. We have to keep out the question of Palestine. We have to keep out the question of our Arab and Muslim sisters and brothers and just talk about peace. Whenever I hear that, I think, no, that actually narrows the movement and it also narrows its impact. One of the things earlier when we were talking about May 1, May Day, immigrant rights, I think we all had the experience last year of a giant anti-war march that was held on April 28th. More than 100,000, maybe it was hundreds of thousands, in Washington, D.C., going from Union Square down to Foley Plaza, Federal Plaza. Wonderful demonstration, strictly on peace and against the war. It was, at the same time, overwhelmingly white and overwhelmingly in its makeup. Even though I supported all the issues and participated in it myself, it didn't try to reach out and to make links. It also was almost ignored in the media for a reason that it didn't challenge. Sometimes a small action, and I think we've certainly seen this with the encampment, that a small determined action can receive more coverage if it's the right time and if it is a real political strategy. At any rate, that large demonstration that really didn't make any links to the issues of working people was followed just a couple days later on May 1 by an enormous demonstration of immigrant workers, those really without any rights, who across the country shut down industries, the whole industries of meat packing, of shipping, of ports. It was quite incredible. Fast food. There were quite a number of areas of the country, the garment industry, that shut down on that day. There were big rallies in New York, almost 1 million people. You couldn't even come near Union Square. That movement should have been embraced by the anti-war movement. They could have made those links. And we need to consciously struggle within our own movement for that unity to happen. The more we do that, the more we really try to link those issues, those struggles together, reach out a hand to each other, the stronger and the more potential we have.
Thank you very much. Sara Flounders of the International Action Center and Troops Out Now Coalition. I'm Reem Kathuda.